Good evening. So I want to welcome you to our show tonight, A Time for Truth. We got a great show, very appropriate for what's going on in our country, and we're very lucky tonight to have a friend of mine, retired NFL player Noah Burroughs, who's here with us. We're going to be talking to you about something very important for our families, for our kids, and also really for the mindset, you know, because we got a guy next to me here who made it, and a lot of people out there watching this show who want to know how to succeed in life. So that's what we're going to be speaking about, how to succeed, how to avoid drugs, the traps that are out there. And we want to actually start with a little video of an annual gala that we have regarding drug abuse, drug education, and those heroes like Mr. Burroughs that you're going to see in that video who actually were awarded for their community service. So engineer, if you could, please, the video about the annual Drug-Free World Gala. Foundation for Drug-Free World thanks you for being here tonight and for acknowledging these heroes. It takes passion, teamwork, and hard work to get anything worthwhile accomplished.
The opportunity to work with the Drug-Free World has been second to none. I can honestly say to be able to have all of these materials, the pamphlets, the videos that can help teach and educate, you know, teachers and parents on some of these drugs that people have no idea about.
My feeling is that what it's doing is bringing good attention to these everyday heroes that usually don't get publicity and are making it work. So by throwing an event like this, they're encouraging and empowering everyday people who are working very hard to help. And that's a wonderful role.
Drug education is so important because so many family members are affected and so many people are affected by drug use. I have lost several family members to addiction, and so learning about drug prevention at a young age can help me not recreate the mistakes that family members have made and not leave people behind like I've been left behind by drug abuse.
So there you go. That was a year or so ago, before COVID. We normally have that every year on Long Island to actually recognize those heroes that work like Mr. Burroughs on helping save our kids from drugs. Some important facts to know that, you know, have kind of been lost out there is that in the entire 10-year Vietnam War, we lost 58,000 Americans in 10 years. And drug abuse each year in America in the last 3 or 4 years has killed 70,000 Americans. 70,000 Americans. We're going through this horrible COVID pandemic. obviously that we're all getting through together. But if you take a look at drugs, which have been around for such a long period of time, it's really something that we need to control. We can't have 72,000 Americans dying more each year. And something important to realize is with the COVID, with the loss of jobs, with the stress, with being stuck in our homes, all these different things that we've gone through. What's happened is people are stressed, and national, international drug use, alcohol use has skyrocketed. Very, very high levels. So God knows really what the level of drug deaths will be this year in 2020, considering the amount of stress that we've all gone through. Tonight, as I said at the beginning of the show, we're very lucky to have with us retired NFL player Noah Burrows.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here, Noah.
Appreciate it. Of course, no problem.
Thank you. I wanted to actually avail the viewers of your viewpoint, and the first thing I wanted to really ask you as a professional player is, first of all, I guess, is what you were looking at when you were younger, and what it was that, your mindset and how you maneuvered through life to get to where you got to.
Thank you for having me also.
You're quite welcome.
I appreciate it. And doing these things for the betterment of people is just something I've always wanted to do. So it's always a no-brainer. Something that I always want to do, help out drug-free world any way I can. So one of the reasons that I had the mindset that I had is that I saw individuals, use drugs and hinder them from production or positivity and towards a goal that they might have set. I've seen guys that were just as athletic as I was, or if not more, that didn't have the opportunity to, make it to the level that I did because they let drugs overcome their emotional or physical or whatever it is limitation that they had, and it controlled their mindset. So for me, I just wanted to always make sure that I didn't go in this direction, the same direction that I seen those guys go in. Having an opportunity to earn a scholarship, having an opportunity to travel places that I would not have been able to travel at a young age had I not gone to college, and had I not, been able to make it to play in the NFL. These are things I would not have been able to do without a strong mindset. A mindset whereas if I have a goal, I'm going to try to accomplish that goal, and I wasn't going to let drugs or anything get in the way of that.
I can definitely see that. What I want to share, myself in high school, I had a friend of mine, and I don't want to give his name, but a great player, and he was going to play professional football. Actually got a scholarship, was hooked on marijuana, got kicked out of school. He was such a good player, they gave him a chance. He went to junior college, didn't make it there, and I was so distraught that, that he went through all that and never made it. So I know the viewers out there watching, and there's probably some young, aspiring, future NBA players, NFL players, Major League Baseball players out there in our audience who are going to be watching this. So probably they're going to say, yeah, Noah, but when I'm with my friends, there's a lot of peer pressure. So I wanted you to relate with them. What did you do? I mean, what kept your head on straight when you had all that pressure on you?
With peer pressure is real. It does exist. I do know it, and it's like I said. You still have something that you have in your mind. You set a goal, and nothing should be able to deter you from that goal. So for me, at a young age, I always realized that a lot of problems that people have, they only exist between that person's two ears. So if I had friends that wanted to peer pressure me to take some drugs or try drugs or even smoke a cigarette, I wouldn't let that problem exist between my own ears. So if they would say, hey, you're not the coolest guy because you don't want to try, you're square, you want to act like an old man, in between my head, I didn't let those things affect me. So, there are a lot of things that people say negatively, but as long as I keep a sane mind and a strong mind, I could weed out and block out all those negative comments that they would make. I would just keep my drive towards whatever my goal was. And I think a lot of people, if they were trying to implement that philosophy, and not just with sports, with anything in life, if you could block out whatever it is, the weaknesses that would defeat you, the problem really only exists between your own two ears. And if you can get rid of that problem, you'll be able to accomplish a lot, so much.
Absolutely. Something that I want to relate to the viewers, as Noah, there's another professional player that you've met, Bobby Hunter, the Globetrotter.
Yes.
And, Bobby and Noah and all of us were together in an event, and Bobby actually put together a whole video for kids because, as a ball player, he growing up in Harlem, he saw a lot of his friends, succumb to drugs.
Yeah.
And so he made this video that's on YouTube, and you can actually watch it. And he goes, "Hey man, that ain't my thing." And it's a great video. He has some of his other, Gator Rivers, I think he has on that video, a former Globetrotter guard. And, he says, when they come to you with that smack, with that ice, with that Coke, you just go, "Hey man, that's cool, but that ain't my thing." And I don't want to steal that, so I want to give proper copyright to our buddy, former Harlem Globetrotter, who'll be watching this, Bobby Hunter. There on the screen, Noah, there you saw us in Times Square, and you came out. So a lot of people talk in today's world about having time. So while we have that on the screen, I want to ask you a question. If we put that back on the screen, engineer, what made you take the time? You're a busy guy. You have your profession, that you're in. What made you take the time? Nobody's paying you. You're out here in the Times Square area this day. Why did you do that?
Like I said, I've had people that have been affected personally, family members, friends that have been affected by drugs negatively. And as a younger guy, I don't think I was more equipped to try and help individuals other than giving them a few positive words. But, being a person who has accomplished things, I think people tend to listen to you a little more at that point. So if I could take, the celebrity that of playing in the NFL and now working for the NFL, and help others see that that's the way you need to go to stay away from drugs, then that's worth giving away free time. And I don't think there's ever a time where I don't have enough time unless it coincides with, a specific schedule. But, there are other events that I wasn't able to make. But I try to find as much time as I can for Drug Free World because I think it's a great cause,
Well, I appreciate that you came out there that day. I know a lot of people were impacted by you being there. And, I appreciate everyone who's contributing. So, and here you are. This is actually, we had an international clergy meeting where we brought all clergy of different faiths together because there's so much effect of drugs in all religions right now with the kids and with the congregations. A lot of the pastors have been talking about, and the rabbis and the ministers, here they all are. And you see Noah's in there with them, and there's a general from South America back there who's former Air Force General Nahara from Guatemala. And basically the whole idea was to actually empower all the religions with the technology of drug education to be able to play in their Sunday school and whatever. What I was curious, because we were talking about this before the show, you were mentioning to me how there were people that you had looked up to when you were younger and what happened with them over the years. And I was wondering if you could share with the viewers some of these stories.
Yeah, well, there's different types of drugs that, you and I know about, but some of you guys out there may not be aware of. There's, you have pharmaceuticals, you have illegal drugs. The illegal drugs are the ones that we attack, but being in the athletic world, I've seen guys have, after they retired, they became addicted to prescription drugs. those prescription drugs, you know, it's like some of these guys were my legend. They were my heroes growing up. And I would see these guys on TV, and when I, got the opportunity to play with these guys, now we're all retired, and some of these guys have had injuries that require them to take pain medication. Some of them have become addicted, and, they're like a shell of themselves. They don't look the same. Some are, almost unrecognizable, and it's a pretty heartbreaking phenomenon to have to see a good amount of guys go through that situation. So, drugs, I'm not particularly fond of them, but I just know that there's a way to try and educate people, and so I want to do my part just as well as you.
Absolutely. Well, you know what? We have one of the brochures here in front of us that Noah was talking about that we use. And this one happens to be in Spanish. It's in 22 languages, and it's called Drug Free World Program. In Spanish, it's Vida Sin Drogas. And for those of you watching, you can actually download all this, drugfreeworld.org, drugfreeworld.org, in 22 languages. You can use it in religious training in Sunday school. You can use it in mentoring programs like Noah has, like Bobby Hunter has. You can use it in school, after school activities. We worked a lot with the NYPD school resource officers and educating them because they're dealing with it all day long. Very, very important information to know, because there are certain drugs out there that as a school resource officer, you have to realize that if you take it away from a kid, the drug goes through your skin. So you have to be very cautious of using drugs, because some of these bath salts and different powdered drugs can actually affect you, not so much even about getting high, but actually having probable death-causing circumstances where you get an overdose, because if you have too much of the powder on your hands, it goes into your system, into your bloodstream, and you can overdose right then and there, which is really why the director of this NYPD division thought it was so important to train her officers, to safeguard them. I want to really commend NYPD for teaching their officers and for wanting to create drug education, which they have, which is really a nice thing, And what I was going to say, also I want to really thank the NFL, because, we worked a lot with a lot of NFL players over the years, and Marshall Faulk of the NFL has come out, and, there's all different ones that I met down in the Miami Super Bowl. So I was curious, like within the NFL itself, what kind of other programs exist to help people not go on drugs?
Well, it's a great question, and there's a program that's called NFL Legends. What that is if you're a former player, you're automatically you could sign up to get the Legends information that they disseminate through email, and they have an initiative. The NFL has an initiative. Certain clubs can go a little further than what the NFL asked them to, but what they're asking is that they're going to actually donate money to, social justice reform, drug reform, and it's actually going to put money. This isn't something where people are just speaking about. They're speaking about, the reform, but they're actually doing something. So I know in particular a few teams have created an initiative where they're asking former players to become involved and give ideas of how we could help. So me, I'm one of the first guys to sign up, and I have a lot of ideas as far as what we could do to help deter drug usage. So, and for me, I think it's going into schools, going into troubled communities where we know there's a high rate of drug usage, and we can educate the children in those areas to let them know that certain drugs are very harmful, and just the DVD that we have, the drug-free pamphlet is so helpful, has so much information where it explains to children what these different synthetic marijuanas that children don't know about. They think they're smoking the weed, and it's actually K2, and that's a banned substance that's allowed to be sold in some stores, but in a month's time it'll be illegal. So then they change it with the, some other synthetic strand, and they allow it to be sold in the stores again, whereas people are not so educated about that. They don't know the dangers of taking these specific drugs.
That's a great point you're bringing out, that it's important for our viewers to know. With synthetic drugs, what happens, and Noah was bringing this out, what happens is you have one synthetic drug, and then what happens is the police and the DEA catch on to it, and they regulate it, and now it becomes illegal. But what happens? They modify it, and by modifying it, it skirts the system, so it goes back out again, like he was saying. And so then the police and the DEA catch up to it, and they modify it again. And so it's important for kids, like Noah was saying, to be educated. So, I was going to ask you, Noah, because sometimes people say to me, well, but, Noah, that's because you're used to being in front of the cameras, or, Dr. Ben, you like doing that. You've been doing it for a while. What would you say to those parents out there, those coaches, religious leaders? What would be your advice in terms of giving an event or a classroom or using this program?
Well, program is it's an educational piece. It's like a teacher. You have a lesson plan, and it has the individual lessons in there. It has handouts, and it's a teaching tool. Mm-hmm. So it's just like if you wanted to go to learn how to cook a new meal. You might buy a recipe book. Mm-hmm. You have to follow the recipe book. Or for those new age people, maybe they'll go to YouTube, and then they'll learn how to cook a meal based on what they learn on YouTube.
And that's the Drug Free World site you're talking about now. Yeah. So they can go on that site and they can look right on there on how to do it then.
Yeah. So
okay.
The teaching component of it is excellent, because they're individual drugs per chapter, per section,
okay, per
day, and you can go through each drug to learn the negative effects of it. Mm-hmm. It's just well thought out. It's put together pretty uniquely, and I can't tell you, there's been times where I've gone to speak at drug rehab facilities, mm-hmm, and they don't have anything like this. So mm-hmm, this is light years ahead, and I think we need to try and figure out a way to get out to a lot more people so that they are aware of all these different drugs and the negative effects of them.
Absolutely. Engineer, if we could, let's play, there's a video we have where Noah and I both were actually training NYPD and educating them on different drugs. And I think if you play that now, the viewers can see what we were doing and how we were empowering them with information on drugs, how to get to the kids, and how to reach out to them. So if we can put that video on, and we will watch that now.
So how are you going to get more pay to take care of your family or have time off? How are you going to get any more insurance coverage if the country's not producing? Anybody? The guy in the orange, is there a way? There's no way, is there? No, he's shaking no. Why is this important? Because I want you to realize that since a few years ago, we quadrupled the death rate in America due to drugs. 72,000 died in America in 2017 from drug deaths. Why is that important? How many died in 10 years of Vietnam War? 10 years, how many? Anybody? Anybody? Take a guess. Because we were protesting, pulling guys out. Too many young boys are dying in America. Right? You and I were around Vietnam War. It's true, isn't it? We were protesting. Hey, it's not okay. Why we got to go over there and fight? Guess how many died in 10 years? Anybody? How many? 80,000? 80%. But a number, how many thousand, millions? I'll tell you. 58,000. 58,000. How many years? 10 years. That's 5,800 a year. I told you in 2017, how many Americans died of drug deaths? 72,000. 1 year. Where's the protest? I guess there's something wrong with me. There's your economic problem. There's your economic problem. You should ask yourself, why doesn't anybody say anything about this? How are we going to rescue the economy with more drugs being used? But we're going to legalize it because we're going to make more money. How? If you come in my office, and he comes in my office, and I said, hey Noah, how you doing? You're here for an implant today, right? Okay, it's been a long day. Hold on 1 second. Okay, I'm ready. Can you see that? You're going to go to the Caribbean. You're at JFK. You're all excited. We've legalized. And you know, this is a free country. What do you mean you're going to discriminate against me because I'm just a janitor? Because I'm an airplane pilot. Why are you going to discriminate against me? They get to do it. Why can't I do it? It's a free country. Discrimination. So the pilot comes up. And he goes on the plane. Are you going to take that plane? No. No. How come nobody talks about this? Go ahead, answer me. I can't hear autopilot. Okay. Autopilot. I ain't going on that plane on autopilot to land. But I'll watch you. I'll film you. Okay, so now I want to turn over to our guest speaker. Okay, because obviously he came here for a reason. And I want you to give a nice round of applause to Noah Burroughs.
I want to expound upon one thing that you said, and a lot of times you guys don't realize that when things are going on in the country, you see a lot of things in media. There's a reason why things are planted into the media. If you look at it, most media outlets are owned by the same company or individual. So the message that we get on the news, you guys don't realize that there's reasons why they say certain things. So legalizing marijuana is a purpose, right? You know, and I know we all know people who, you know, I only want to stick with marijuana for now because we all know the dangers of all the other drugs. But marijuana, everyone says, oh, functioning, doesn't bother me. So, you know, if you guys know I'm involved in sports, so Super Bowl was about 2 weeks ago. So I'm gonna tell you a funny story. Just having the coaches that I've had over the course of my career, they've always told me to have conversations with people about different things. So at the Super Bowl a couple of weeks ago down in Atlanta, I got a chance to meet a scientist. And, you know, I come from a demographic where it's minority based. You know, I never think I would ever speak to a scientist on a personal level. So we're having a conversation, and he asked me about some guys that I know that play, you know, that use recreational drugs, marijuana. And I said, yeah, I know a bunch of guys that do that. So he said, well, just let them know that if they care about themselves, they care about their families, let them know that they're killing themselves. They're driving themselves insane, slowly but surely. And that's a scientific fact. Of course, like I said, the media won't tell you these things because it doesn't help them. You know, there are companies who feed the media outlets this information so that you guys can legalize marijuana. I think it's such a great thing. But like I said, that scientific research will be available to people soon. You can go and research it. But I tell people, I tell kids this. I say, you know, well, you know, you want to try these drugs, marijuana. It didn't affect this guy. I know this guy. He's a professional, he has a job, and he's been able to maintain that job for years. I said, yeah, it's true, but I might take a Tylenol and it might make my headache go away. Right now, you take a Tylenol, it does nothing to you. So because what one person does affects them differently, won't necessarily affect you the same way. And I say that to say, he might smoke marijuana, she might smoke marijuana, it affects them differently. So the easiest analogy I give kids is kids, they love Marvel comics, they love superheroes, so everyone knows of, you know, Superman. That's not a Marvel comic, but he's a DC, but you know, you have Superman, you have Iron Man, you have Spider-Man, all these characters. These kids, they do understand and they know what those characters are. X-Men, and the big thing about X-Men is that those guys, they mutate, they're mutants. Speaking to the scientist, he explained to me, he said, you have a mutation within you. There's about 3 in 8 people who have a genetic mutation. So it affects you different ways. It's one of the reasons why a Tylenol affects one person differently than it does another. So for those 3 of that 8 people who decide to do marijuana, that mutation is driving them crazier, faster. So I played sports all my life. I never wanted to smoke a cigarette. I was a believer that whatever you put in your body, is your body responded properly to it. You know, I've seen what drugs have done to a lot of people in my neighborhood growing up. I just didn't want to take that chance. So some people might need other things. You know, this DVD that he put on, there's other things that is actual, it has stories, individual stories that they could tell you that individuals have gone through with some of the bad sorts. But this drug I've heard of this year is K2. It's like a marijuana, and you know, it's just, I don't know, you know, but I think one of the easiest ways to get through to kids is to, you know, to make the analogy of what I just did and talk about the mutation that we all have. You know, there's a lot of us that have mutations that affect us differently. And that's one way I think to try and reach kids, along with the DVD and the handouts. Those things are great. And you guys are all to be commended because, you know, hopefully you can get this disseminated to more people and they can see that they have options or they have information readily available to them. They can see what these drugs do to them. And I just want to give you guys a round of applause for being here, or give yourselves a round of applause for being here, because without you, these kids are lost.
So there you go. That was with NYPD, and it was a lot of fun. There's a picture that I got to show you. That I look at, there it is here. And I want you to leave that up on the screen. And I looked at this. That's not retouched. I want you to know that's a real picture. And you know, so I want Noah to actually describe how this happened, and also his mindset. You know, because I mean, talking about running down the field, these guys are trying to kill you. He's up in the air there, must be I don't know how many feet. So Noah, tell us about this. This is amazing. Tell me about this.
Well, it's like the thing, you know, we spoke of early, having a mindset. You got to have a mindset that is, you have a job. You have a job to do. So I know I had a job to do. And I know that there were, after you face an opponent a few times, they get familiar with what you're going to do and how to defeat you. And so I had to have an array of weapons in my arsenal. So, you know, it was, you could run through a player. You could run around a player. But I don't think anybody was ever used to someone jumping over the player. So, so I had, you know, I thought about different ways to attack opponents and defeat them, and that was one of them. And it was definitely something. It was eye-opening, and I got a lot of attention from the other coaching staff based on that individual play. But like I said, you know, I had a goal, and I wanted to accomplish it, conquer that goal. And what I thought in that play is that I need to jump over these guys. So that's what I did.
Interesting. So, you know, that's like a very high risk, a lot of effort that you have to put out. So I think it would be good. It's like your mindset when you did that, knowing what could possibly happen. Like in life, a lot of times people say, I can't take that risk because maybe I'm going to not be able to continue my job, or, and you want to take care of your family, right? And you want to take care of different things. But your mindset as a pro athlete in that picture, what could you relate to those people out there that they could utilize in their daily lives?
Yeah, so like I said, initially you have a goal, you have a dream, you have something that seems so far-fetched. And for me, playing in the NFL was a dream. It was something that was completely far-fetched for me to accomplish. But I believed in myself to at least give it a shot. So I've set my mind to doing all the things that I needed to do to accomplish step one of my goal, step two of my goal, and continue to go forth. And every time I completed a goal, I'll set another one. But there was never a time for distractions. There was never a time for anything to hold me back. And negative energy, disbelief in yourself, negative influences, peer pressure, all those things, I blocked them out. And I set my mind towards my goal. And that's pretty much still how I live my life today. So, I just keep things in front of me, and then I try and run towards those things that are positive.
Fantastic. I can see that. I can see how you accomplish so much. And at this point of the show, I actually want to present Noah, who's done so much work. We have a lot more to talk about, but it's important to present this award. This is actually the President's Volunteer Service Award. And first I want to just put it up on the screen so that the viewers can see this. And if you can zoom in on this award, here you go, for Mr. Noah Burrows. Now this award is not something that, you just get because you're a good guy. He actually has done a tremendous amount of community service, like a friend of mine here out in the audience, Ray Negron, and also Steve Vaccaro, who helps with this show. But I want to read you this letter. I want to just, again, put this up on the screen so you can zoom in on this for a moment, because it's a beautiful letter. And if you zoom in on that now and get it up on the screen, I'll wait for you. I love that picture of him jumping up. Here we go. And it's from the President of the United States. And I will read you what it says. This is an award for Mr. Noah Burrows. Congratulations on receiving the President's Volunteer Service Award. On behalf of a grateful nation, I thank you for your service to your fellow Americans and those most in need. Through your dedicated service, you have ensured the continuation of America's unparalleled commitment to improving the lives of others. Over this past year, you have served as a model of the American spirit. Your many hours of service have strengthened the bonds of cooperation and trust that bring people together while helping to address some of the greatest challenges of our time. One of our nation's greatest strengths remains the comparison and the compassion of our everyday citizens who give so willingly of themselves and their lives for the benefit of others. Each generation of hardworking and kind-hearted volunteers helps to write a new chapter of American greatness. And our nation is proud for your commitment to this honorable tradition. As we reflect on your many acts of kindness and charity over this past year, our nation draws inspiration from those who answer the call to help their communities and our nation. With your continued efforts to build on our nation's culture of service, America will proudly remain a land of freedom and opportunity for all. Wow, I'm just reading that letter and I'm like, I'm feeling it. So first I want to present you, let me take this down for a moment so we don't block that out. I want to present you here with this presidential award. There's a letter, and if you hold that, and then I'm going to hold up, here's your award, and there you go.
Thank you.
There you go. Congratulations.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Well, it's not from me. It's from the President of the United States for what you've done. But you know what? You said so many profound things, So getting this award, how do you look at that? And, you know, people talk about, you know, sometimes they're tired or they get frustrated. So you kind of spoken about this, but I know it's something we all encounter. What drives you to do this? I mean, you know, some people say, well, you know, this is what I got to make, but obviously this is something you're doing for the community, right?
Of course. Well, I'll tell you this. I've always wanted to help. So acts of service and kindness, you know, my mantra is to do things for the greater of humanity. And initially I started off wanting to give back to kids in a, I would say, to me, I felt selfish because I was helping kids, but I would only help as a college football coach. I felt I only helped per year, maybe 100 kids. You know, I could try and reach as many as I could. So I began to think of other ways to try to help. And through my personal relationships and friendships with former players, they introduced me to Drug Free World. And so I thought now I could reach more people at a greater pace than I was doing just being a college football coach. So to me, this is a no-brainer. It's something that, you know, I had to wake up at 4 in the morning to do workouts and then still go do a 6-hour day of class and then another 2 hours of practice. So if you go through the day of a course of a year, 16 hours, being up on your feet and studying and doing work, this is easy compared to that. You know, giving back to people and educating people was very easy, something that I don't think twice about doing because I know what it could do. You know, it's positive versus negative, and I want to attack as much positive people and try and guide them the right way. So to me, this is nothing. It's very easy. It's fun, actually. You know?
Well, you know, I want to thank you because you have helped Drug Free World tremendously throughout the country. And for those of you watching, you know, the show tonight, one of the things for you to know is that you can do your own program. This is not some specific person's program. When you really look at it, the people who founded this country fought so hard for this country in the middle of a winter with no heat, freezing by the river, fighting in a war. And really, when I think about what they went through, it gives me an appreciation of how lucky we all are to be here today and to live in this country. So I agree with Noah, is, you know, to take this program and which is called Drug Free World, which is free, and to utilize it in 22 languages, you know, is a no-brainer to me. The reason I use this program is because there were a lot of other programs that were out there that were great, you know, Scare Straight, or Dare, or Say No to Drugs. And they were all fantastic ideas because everybody was trying to get to the point. And what this has really been has been a synthesis and evolution where we realized that, okay, why do I do something? Because if you try to tell me, or probably if I tell Nora, you won't do it. Is that true?
Maybe.
Maybe yes, maybe no. So what happens is education. But that person has to decide for themselves. So what those viewers watching tonight realize is this program helps your kid to decide for himself. If you're teaching a Sunday school, you give them the booklets and they read, and they see the truth about drugs. As a doctor, a surgeon of 40 years, I can tell you, and you know, that drugs are really not going to help you. They're crutch, temporary, if any, and then you end up succumbing to the drug. So it really is not anything to go for. So for those of you who are out there, you can download it for free at drugfreeworld.org. And one of the things I want to actually mention, and I want to ask you about, because I know you talked about community service, I think that now you're going to be looking at helping in your area, right? That you're going to maybe run for office or something? Or?
Yeah, so there's a political seats that are available. Village trustees, Village of Hempstead. And I think my ideas are something that's it's forward thinking, it's progressive, and it's a way to try to help kids obviously learn the dangers of drugs. I think education is the most important thing as far as drug prevention, you know. So there's nothing else that I think as far as a program to use that's easier, that's readily available and something that people would really gravitate to. So Drug Free World is a program that I definitely think we need to start infusing into that community.
Absolutely. I totally agree with you. So I'm so happy that you're here tonight so that we can both communicate to those people on Long Island. I don't know how many of you realize, but on Long Island today, we actually have a heroin epidemic. And on top of the heroin epidemic, that nothing is being talked about really is synthetic drugs. And we have something called synthetic fentanyl. It's important for you to realize, because for those of you who are parents out there, synthetic fentanyl, if your child takes it one time and has never done any kind of drug, they're very susceptible. It's such a strong drug, and nobody wants to lose anyone in their family. So it's important to realize why it's so important to educate, and that why we need to get this out there, because it's just one kid dies. It's too much, especially when it's someone you know. I don't want to give the name of some people that I've known who have their kids die, but one very close to me, who's a very important person, and I'll just keep it general, and said to me, you know, we're not doing enough about drugs. We're doing a lot of lip service, but in reality, it's touched me now, and there's no going back, and we need to do something. I don't want anyone else to lose their kids, and so I wanted to keep the story very general, but I know all of you out there got the meaning, got the message. No, I'm just curious, like during your time and going through sports, I know there's drugs in sports. Did you ever know of someone, or actually you lost them because of drugs, or got so severely addicted that they just went downhill?
Well, I'm sure that I had a there was teams that I liked to watch. I wasn't particularly a fan of a specific team I won't mention, but I will mention that I'm pretty sure there's a lot of people who may know of a prominent figure who became addicted to a painkiller drug, and it affected his cognitive ability to do certain things. So for him to avert the pain away, he did other things to himself, to the point where he succumbed to the addiction, and he lost his life. It's like I said, it's heartbreaking. I know it was difficult for his family to deal with. It was a difficult situation for the NFL family to deal with, and like those are reasons why I do what I do and why you do what you do. It's something that we could try to prevent, and if as long as we have air in our lungs, I think it's something that we can do and keep trying to do. Support families who might have a family member or a friend who uses drugs, and try and correct that.
Absolutely. One of the things I wanted to make sure we give credit to, because I think Nick Ferguson introduced you to the Drug Free World, right?
Yes, he did.
Okay. So, we want to just, Nick, wherever you're out there right now, thank you for bringing this great guy into this drug education program. And Nick was down at the Super Bowl and down in Miami, and did you see the mural they painted? They had a old mural.
Yeah, I saw it.
And his high school, where he went to school down in Florida, I think it was in Miami, and they made this tremendous mural that they dedicated to him right before the Super Bowl. And fantastic that he did that. Marshall Falk was down there. He was in a lot of stations putting out the message. He actually helped to get this out into some stadiums so the kids could actually get the information. One of the things I've been teasing with Ray Negron, since, the Yankees, and I'm a Yankee fan, Thurman Munson, Ron Guidry, I guess because I'm Ron Guidry's size, so he was like my hero, because little guy who could strike out these big guys, Louisiana Lightning. I'm from Cuba, so maybe it was Cuban Hurricane. But, I'm a Jewish guy. My mother wanted me to be a doctor. I never got a chance to, to get into that, but maybe next time around. And what happened is, all these great venues, when you think about it, why do we live? Imagine there were no kids in the world. Where would we go? Would there really be the same spirit? And what future would we build to? So, I would love to see this. And I know you agree, and I think Marshall Falk and the NFL agreed. is to make it safe for all our kids. So instead of having this drug problem, you know, they're all out there creating, making music, like you, Noah, jumping over people. Maybe somebody will jump even higher than you, and they're going to name the jump after you, you know, and it'll be your jump. There it is again. We got to come up with a name for this thing, Noah. What are you going to call this thing? We got to like coin it before somebody else takes it. This is the Burroughs Bop or something. Or you know, unbelievable. I still can't fathom how you got up that high. You know, I think Wilt was up there somewhere and up in the stratosphere. You know, we're getting near the end of the show, and what I wanted to ask you, what would you like to actually purvey to these viewers tonight about drugs and what you think of what's going on right now with our kids in America?
Well, one thing is I think individual self-care. If you take time to try to realize that as long as you're healthy yourself, then you could help others, right? So for a mom who may be feeling depressed or, you know, those other issues that come with, you know, lacking, or it doesn't help a child when they don't know about a specific drug or these things, it's always okay to reach out to try and ask for help. You know, it's one of the things that I want to do as far as trying to reach out and make it accessible for people to ask for help. Sometimes people do drugs because they don't know what else to do. They don't have another avenue.
They're afraid. They're lost, right?
Exactly.
I mean, they're afraid to ask.
They just want to feel a joy, this joy that they can't find themselves. So I think we have to try and reach others and find a way to show them there's another way to reach these highs without it being from a drug.
Absolutely. You know, sometimes a lot of people ask, well, what can I do? So, you know, Noah and I were talking before the show. One of the things not to avoid and to really think about is nutrition. Because if you take the wrong food, you get anxious. If you don't eat the right food, your body gets anxious. If you get anxious, all of a sudden you think there's something wrong with you and you're looking for a solution. When all you really have to do is eat properly. I mean, that doesn't mean you don't have to have chocolate. I want to share something with you. Organic, 85% cocoa you can have. It's great for you. It's very healthy, and it satisfies you. You mix that with some organic almonds. You put some cinnamon on it, and it's great, you know, and you can sneak a little honey in there. And it really is very good, much better than worrying about, you know, bread and cookies and whatever. And the same thing with protein, getting the right protein. You know, he and I were talking about this, very important. The other thing is exercise. You don't have to go out and run a marathon, but just to get out in the sun gives you vitamin D, helps your calcium, your bones, helps you to relax, helps your metabolism. The sun is very important. So getting out there for a walk, getting some sun. We're in the middle of COVID, but still, okay, you can distance, you can be out in the sun, walk by yourself. If you're concerned, that's fine. You can walk out there, get some sun, get good nutrition, get some exercise. You know, I know I don't got to ask you. I love to go get exercise. I always have. And those are things that you can do. Now, one other thing people ask, and Noah and I were talking about, is what you do in your life. What do I mean by that? Well, Noah talked about this all night tonight, is your dream. Your dream. What do you mean dream? Your dream and what you've always thought you wanted to do, don't give up on it. Because if you keep your dream, then what happens is you're going towards something that you desire and you get energy out of it. And, you know, your dream may be like a friend of mine out here in the audience, Ray Negron. He loves to help kids. So he goes out and with Steve Vaccaro, and, you know, they give kids toys and they give kids care. And I know they would tell you that they get back all this energy. And people don't look at this, but as a surgeon of 40 years, I can tell you that if somebody has positive energy, they just heal better. It's actually known. It's called general adaptation syndrome. And any surgeon will tell you that he knows that if he can get that person in a good state of mind, in equilibrium, good nutrition, exercise, they're going to heal better. They're going to feel better. And it's amazing what happens. So I want to share those things with the viewers out there. Then when you get into a problem where you have somebody looking at drugs or in drugs, use the public service announcements of Drug Free World, 22 languages on every drug. And I'll give you a tip. Don't try to tell anybody what to do. It doesn't work. Let them watch the video. Say, you know what? I saw this video. I'd like you to watch it. Let them watch the video. It takes 45 seconds. It's made by people much smarter than you and I and people out here doing the show who have actually researched how to get through to that kid. And let the kid just watch it. And it's made with kids that age, so it communicates to them. It's real to the kid. I know when I was in high school, you related before, there were drugs. And there's a lot of drugs. It was no different, except that nowadays the drugs are stronger, more dangerous. And so that's why we had this show. We were talking about a time for truth. We're here to give you some truth, give you some reality, and empower you. So for those parents out there, feel that you can reach out to us. And you can definitely reach out to us at drugfreeworld.org. You can reach out to us through this show, and it's on Facebook. You can write a comment if you have a specific question. And there's definitely something you can do. That's what I want to leave you with. There is something you can do. The worst thing to do is nothing. Do something. And whatever you do, if it doesn't work out, I think one of the secrets Noel will say to you, continue. He told you that before. He accomplished one thing. Then he went to the next thing. And before you know it, you've actually gotten to your goal. So that really, if you look at anybody who's ever made it, or you look at somebody in a boxing ring, and you say, my God, that guy's getting killed. And then all of a sudden, he throws a knockout punch, and he wins the fight. And the only reason was, not that he didn't lose all those other rounds, because he did, but he continued, and then he won. So with that, I want to thank you for tuning in. I want to really thank Mr. Noel Burrows for being here with me.
No problem.
Will you come back again?
Of course.
Okay, good. And, I want to thank those guys out there from the NFL who are supporting this show. And thank you so much for tuning in. Next week, we'll have another exciting episode for you of A Time for Truth. Be well, get out in the sun, eat well, get some exercise, and keep in your COVID restrictions.